Hello, I'm interviewing Jeffrey Hodges, who is the running candidate for Nicklin.
And leader.
And
leader of the party.
Leader
Yeah.
of the Civil Liberties and Consumer
Consumer
Rights Party here in
Yeah.
Queensland.
Yeah, we're a new party, Genevieve.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes, which...
Based for common sense. We really want to bring common sense back into our political agendas. We're focusing on three things in particular. Healthy people, healthy environment, and healthy economy. That's common sense, don't you think?
That is, absolutely. I think no one would disagree with that one.
Yeah.
So, Jeffrey, what inspired you to become a politician or enter the political arena?
Well, my background in my studies was I did environmental science at Griffith University back in the 80s, and in particular we looked at political science. That was a particular subject of interest to me at that time, but I didn't get involved in politics back then, and I eventually went on and did a master's degree in sociology, and that sparked my interest again in politics. But what really got me started was I started an organisation called No Tolls, because these toll rip-offs that are happening on our roads, and I started an organisation called No Tolls about 3.5 years ago, and No Tolls eventually morphed itself into Civil Liberties and Consumer Rights, because obviously tolling is just one particular issue, isn't it? And
Yes.
it represents the privatisation push that's happening in our society at the moment. Privatisation of our electricity, privatisation of our water. They're wanting to sell off our ports, or they've already done that, at our airports. All this privatisation that is being pushed by big corporate interests, and it's taking away our public ownership of so many important essential services that need to be maintained in public hands.
Yes, I think that has been a particular concern of
Many
Queensland people, definitely.
Yeah.
And seems to be a trend which the governments haven't reversed.
No, and they haven't reversed, and they're continuing to push it. And one of the things that we really want to point out is that if the Labor Party and the Liberal Party, either of them, get in again with a clear majority, then we'll have more toll roads, we'll have more privatisation, no matter what the politicians say now. They're all liars, and they are liars, and they're liars because they are not standing up for interests of people like you and I.
Yes.
And this is what's prompted me to get involved in politics.
Yes. I believe your party refuses to accept donations from anyone.
Definitely.
So how do you see that as being important to your platform?
It's absolutely essential. You can only maintain integrity as a party if you are not able to be influenced by wealthy individuals or wealthy corporations who can come in and virtually buy the policies of particular governments. And this is what's happening at the moment. You have situations where huge corporations, big pharma, big agribusinesses and so on, big mining companies are essentially driving policy decisions in Queensland, not only in Queensland but in Australia and around the world. And these policy decisions are based entirely for the profit motive. And so if you do not take donations from any of these other individuals or corporations, then you cannot be influenced by those individuals. As soon as you take $1 or whatever it is from a company or an individual, then there's an obligation, isn't there? They expect you to do a quid pro quo, and we refuse to do that. Our key policy platform is to maintain integrity and independence, and Nicklin in particular has always been a fairly independent kind of a electorate. We've got a lot of people who live in Nicklin who are, we could say, very concerned about the environment and very concerned about their own personal health. And so our policies of looking after the environment are very important and very resonate with our electorate, with this electorate that I'm standing for. But also things like fluoride. Why are we adding fluoride to our water? It's a poison. It's a toxic poison.
Good question.
We want to get rid of it.
Yes, yeah. So basically your party is self-funded then, and that actually indicates a high degree of commitment.
It's a very commitment, but see, we're not spending a lot of money. I'm not a wealthy individual. None of our party members are hugely wealthy individuals, and basically we're doing it as a grassroots movement. So when I first started the No Tolls organisation, we got a huge response from that because so many people are being ripped off. This tolling system is it's awful, because not only do people get fined if they're late on paying a toll, but they can lose their license and all that kind of stuff. And anyone who's been involved in this process of being chased up by SPUR, the State Penalties Enforcement Registry, it's a dreadful. They're so draconian and Hitlerian in
Yes, I've heard some sad stories
in their dealings with people, you know.
Yeah.
And I also want to bring into my expertise as a coach. You know, I've been working with elite sports people for the last 30 years in a business I run called SportsMind, and what we're looking at there is to how can people improve their performance. And so I'd like to bring those skills into the public service, you know, getting the public service to perform what they're supposed to, which is to serve the public rather than to serve their own interests.
Yes, I think a lot of people in Queensland are concerned about, I guess, the lack of value we see for the tax dollar we're paying.
Yeah. And part of that, of course, is due to the huge payments that are made to senior public servants. You know, why are we paying senior public servants like $400,000 a year, $500,000 a year, when, you know, there are people out there trying to make do on the basic minimum wage, which has only just been increased by a few dollars in the last couple of weeks, of about $40,000 a year. You know, and you've got people being paid, you know, huge corporate executives being paid $5.8 million, $4 million a year, and then senior public servants expecting to be paid the same rate as someone in the private sector. That is just wrong. That's just wrong.
Doesn't make
you know,
sense.
the public service should be a public service, and people who want to work in the public service should have the attitude of, I'm here to do this as a public service, which is why I'm standing. I'm wanting to be a public servant, and personally, I'm willing to take a cut of half of my over bloated, you know, politician salary of what is it, $150,000 a year. I'm willing to give half of my weekly salary to local community organisations in my electorate. You know.
Well, Jeffrey, your commitment certainly seems to come from the heart, and I wish you all the best with the campaign.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Genevieve.
you.